Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. While we shake the new digs down, I remind you to speak into your microphone today so that we can get to the back of the room, so to speak.
Charlie, you can hear them without them. You can hear people without the mic all the way to the back. So
Yeah, but no, they were worried more, Brittany, and she can't just about hear anybody down in the hole she's in, so that was why I was mentioning that. I can just barely see you. You could wait.
Could you stand, please?
I
See your
just
face.
pulled my chair back and thought I'd sleep through this.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Pennington County Planning Commission, November 24th, 2025. Recommendations to the Planning Commission on certain items from this agenda will be considered by the Board of Commissioners at their regular meeting on December 2nd, 2025 at 10:30 a.m. And I remind those that's just an approximate time when they deal with their planning items. The Planning Commission utilizes speaker request forms which are available in the commission chambers during the meeting. I'm not sure, is it over on the side right now, Jerry, the forms? Is it over here?
There's
Okay.
a table at the entryway when you come in.
All righty, thanks. A table at the entryway. First, be roll call. Everybody's here. Deb's our liaison from the Board of Commissioners. First item on the agenda, approval of the November 10th, 2025 minutes. Have you all had an opportunity to review those minutes in your commission packet? If so, Chair would take a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the November 10th, 2025 meeting of the Pennington County Planning Commission. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Second item on the agenda, approval of the agenda. And I assume, since you all acknowledged that you had reviewed your agenda packets, that the same exists. Chair would take a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
I make that
So
motion.
move.
Moved and seconded to approve the agenda as submitted for the Pennington County Planning Commission meeting, November 24th, 2025. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Good morning, Brittany, and now would you go through the consent calendar?
Good
or
morning.
agenda?
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Hand, Planning Director. The following items have been placed on the consent agenda for action to be taken on all items in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration. The findings of this Planning Commission on certain items from this agenda are recommendations to the Pennington County Board of Commissioners, who will make the final decision. Item number 4 is conditional use permit review CUR 8525 for Pamela Resser to review 2 manufactured homes. One is a principal residence and one is a caretaker's residence in an agriculture district, and staff recommends approval. Item number 5 is conditional use permit review CUR 0514 for Desiree Kursov to review a single-wide manufactured home as a single-family residence in a suburban residential district, and staff recommends approval. Item number 6 is conditional use permit review CUR 2327 for Leadcore Technical Services to review an inline amplifier in an agriculture and commercial district, and staff recommends approval. Item number 7 is conditional use permit review CUR 2331 for Michael and Maren Bourbon to review a vacation home rental in an agriculture district, and staff recommends approval. Item number 8 is conditional use permit review COCUR 24-0014 for Share LLC to review a recreational vehicle park and overnight equine boarding facility in an agriculture district, and staff recommends approval. And item number 9 is conditional use permit review COCUR 24-0024 for Stephen and Lynn Turner to review a home occupation, a barber shop in a suburban residential district, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Brittany. Does the staff have any items they would like pulled at this time?
No, not at this time.
I'm asking whether the commissioners have any that would like to be pulled at this time.
Just a comment. Number 5 is continue.
So that, for the record, should be continued to the
Yep.
December
8th.
8th meeting?
Yep. That's all I have, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I just ask a question? I've noticed on several of the items, and I've noticed this before, I should ask it. Can I use number 4 as an example? I don't have anything of consequence. It's just I have a question. If you go to the second page of number 4, item number 8 says, this conditional use permit will be reviewed in 3 years. And then when you go down to item 8 on the table, it says it will be reviewed in 1 year. And all throughout the consent calendar, there's that discrepancy. It'll say 2 years and 3 years, 1 year and on a complaint. What's the right number?
So in the criteria reviewed in the table, that's the previous conditions.
Okay,
And so the other one is the new conditions. So typically what we do is we do a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year complaint basis. So if they've met all the criteria each time, then we just go to a complaint basis only.
okay, so the table is the actual previous conditions?
Correct,
Or the existing permit?
correct.
Okay, I thought it was something like that, but I should have asked that question a long time ago. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I think it's number 9 that's continued, not is it number 5 and 9? Because 9's continued as well. If you look, staff recommends to continue
Yeah,
conditional
5
use.
and 9 are.
So both 5 and 9, sir.
Okay. You agree with that, Brittany?
Yes.
Okay, just to clear up an item here, that's one of the reasons, that's come up before in planning, and that's why I always had you guys chuckle when I'd say, do you have any clerical errors? So that we could do that without discussing the item, because discussing the item, and Deb knows this very well as all you, that discussing the item is against the Roberts rules. So that's why I've always tried to throw clerical in. So we have solved a couple clerical things here, and that is correct under Roberts rules. You're allowed to do that before we vote on the consent. So just to clarify for the record, those were clerical items that were corrected, not items out of the specific, in this case, what was it, conditional use. We're not discussing the item itself, just the clerical item that's in there. Thank you. Anybody have any questions on that before we go on? Okay, would the commission like any item pulled? Anyone here in the audience to speak on one of the items, 4 through 9? Okay, the chair would address a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar with 2 clerical corrections, both of them involving continuation to the December 8th meeting, item number 5 and item number 9 as written. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're on to item number 10. And just before you speak, we do have a gentleman that's to be on Zoom. Mr. Brown, I believe it is on Zoom for us for item number 10. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Christine Phillip, Assistant Planner. Agenda item number 10, conditional use permit COCU 25-0019, is to allow the use of an existing efficiency dwelling. The applicant is Doug Brown, and Kathy Demmel is actually on Zoom to represent Mr. Brown. The acreage is .51 acres. It is on 4715 Mesa Drive. It is a suburban residential district, and there's no flood hazard on the property. The zoning ordinance lists 7 criteria that the Planning Commission may consider in their review of a conditional use permit applications. Pennington County Planning and Zoning, Section 330 lists the criteria that must be met to allow an efficiency dwelling unit, and they are listed on the board. The request is routed for interdepartmental review. The applicant will need to apply for an approach permit. No other objections or concerns were received. The applicant has requested a conditional use permit for an efficiency dwelling unit. The efficiency dwelling unit utilizes the existing septic system. It is 228 square feet. The applicant plans on removing this existing efficiency dwelling once the building permit is approved and a new single-family residence is constructed and habitable. The applicant will need to apply for an approach permit through the highway. Staff has not received any comments or concerns. And staff recommends approval of COCU 25-0019 with conditions.
Thank you, Christine. Questions for Christine? I just have one. In your analysis, you point out that the unit is 288 square feet. Do they end up having to apply for a building permit to remove that?
It will be a removal permit when he takes it out.
Okay,
Yes.
there will be. All right.
Yes.
Just wondered for my own information. Anything else for Christine? Commission feel they need to speak to, and you indicated the applicant's representative is the one that's on Zoom? Okay, I misspoke on that. I apologize. Any questions for the applicant's representative that you'd like to have at this time, Commission? Anyone from the audience want to come up and speak on item number 10, which is the efficiency dwelling unit? Chair will address the motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we pass conditional use permit COCU 25-0019 with 23 conditions.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to approve per staff's recommendation, COCU 25-0019 with 23 conditions. Discussion from the audience. From the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 11.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Hand again. Item number 11 is minor plat COMPL 25-0004 to subdivide and create lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 of Block 1 of River Bottom Ranchette subdivision. The applicants are Gordon and Connie Howie. The surveyor engineer is Tui Design Group, Mike Tui. The property is located off of Highway 44 and Antelope Creek Road. As you can see on the screen, you can see the lot configurations here. There is one of the ditches, the St. Germain ditch that goes through here, so there is an easement there. There's some access easements that are also created as part of this. Staff did not find any significant issues with this as the zoning is appropriate for the lot sizes. They originally were trying to do these by aliquot description, and they ended up having to plat because it was a previously platted lot. So with that, staff is recommending approval with 5 conditions.
Thank you, Brittany. Questions for Brittany?
Chair,
Yes.
so did they figure out the proposed lot lines that would effectively landlock 3 or 4 properties platted, essentially requiring their owners to cross the ditch to access their land?
Right, so they will have to work with the ditch company to work with them to cross that, but they do have these access easements. This creek bed court goes to it, and then they do to the lots 1 and 4 and 2, and then they also have access up Antelope Creek.
Okay, but they don't have to cross the ditch.
They won't be able to, the ditch company is not going to let them, so they'll have to use one of those 2 accesses.
Well, we want to just make sure we work it out and make sure that it's worked out, and if we're going to approve this, so those people have access and not figure it out later, because you already know in the past with the access issues or second access, we want to make sure that it's taken care of before we approve it.
Right, so they won't be able to access Lot 2 off of the creek bed court. They'll have to use Antelope Creek Road, it looks like, because
Okay.
otherwise they would have
And
to
then
cross.
it was lot 4, I think that I was looking at that, how are they accessing, did you say?
It's through that creek bed court, it's through this right here.
On their lot.
Okay, and that's a road? Or
It's an access easement.
Okay. So how does 4, okay, 4 goes across it, all righty, thank you.
Brittany?
Yes.
Per your item number, your condition number 3 on the St. Germain Irrigation Company's comments, does that become then recordable plat information?
No, it'll be part of the building permit process.
Okay,
So it'll be
that's
part
what
of
I
the
was wondering.
access and the road construction for their building permit.
How would future planning or Board of Commissioners know that they're dealing with that? Follow me?
So in order for them to get a building permit, all building permits require a plat to be pulled. So we look at the plat to look at the access. 1 is to make sure that they do have legal access, and 2, the address is off of their legal access point. So we have to
Okay.
pull that information. So every building permit requires a copy of their plat.
So it stays within the planning department's notations rather than the recorded notation?
Correct.
Okay. Just wanted to know that it comes up somewhere in the process, because that, it seems somewhat, most people would think it was redundant that it did, but the truth is, I mean, that's something that 20 years from now could come up in something under review by the planning commission, you know. There's just some way to, so that they would know this is part of the process that's being approved. Thank you. Any other questions for Brittany?
I do have one. Brittany, detail B, B as in boy, that little triangular shaped thing next to Pittsburgh Court, why is that shaded?
Oh, that's part of the access easement. That small,
Yeah. So I was just looking at C2 and L4 has how it comes around. I would assume that was the easement, and then I saw that, I was just curious. It just seems like it doesn't match anything.
yeah, it's part of the easement.
Okay, all right. That's all I have, sir.
Okay. Any other questions for Brittany? Is your applicant here or want to speak?
No, they are not.
Okay. Anyone else here to speak on item number 11, the plat of these 4 lots? Chair would address a motion. Hearing no other discussion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve minor plat 25-0004.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve per staff's recommendations, COMPL 25-0004 with 5 conditions. Discussion from the commission. From the audience. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 12.
Item number 12 is vacation of plat, COVPL 25-0002, is to vacate a water line easement on a plat. The applicants are Stephen and Deborah Berg. The property is located off of South Side Drive. Staff is recommending approval of this vacation of plat. We have contacted the Rapid Valley Sanitary District and worked with the property owner, and there is no water line within that easement. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the vacation of plat.
Questions for Brittany?
Brittany, you showed 2 conditions. I only see 1, or am I missing?
There is only one condition.
That's all I have, sir.
All right. Any other questions for Brittany on this one? Anybody here from the audience that would like to speak on item number 12, to vacate an easement plat? Being no other discussion, the chair would address a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the vacation of plat COVPL 25-0002 and 1 condition.
Second.
Actually, it's 2, isn't it?
Just
No,
one
only one.
condition.
1? Okay, then we should correct that as printed. Shows 2. Thank you. Second to that motion?
Second.
Approved and seconded to approve per staff's recommendation of COVP 25-0002 with 1 condition as noted in the documents. Discussion from the audience, from the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 13.
Item number 13 is Plan Unit Development Amendment PU 0418 to amend an existing plan unit development to allow commercial uses on Lot 1. The applicants are Scott and Jan Zanstra. The property is located off of Prasada Place and Highway 16. This is an existing PUD. The north lot, if you can see, there's several lots that are associated with this PUD. That north lot along Highway 16, this is the lot that they are proposing to have the commercial uses on. Here's a basic site plan of what they're looking at: a possible wedding venue, pickleball court, a basketball court, a pool area, and then they would like to have several vacation cabins on this lot. This is consistent with other uses that are in the area along Highway 16. The applicants and the applicant's agent are in the audience if you have any questions. Staff didn't find any significant issues with this request. So staff is recommending approval with 24 conditions.
Questions for Brittany?
Noticed coming by this, they're working on the road already. Going into this place.
Yes, and as long as they don't go over the 10,000 square feet, they won't need a construction permit or a stormwater permit. They may have a stormwater permit as needed as they work on it.
Yeah, yeah, well, I don't see a problem. I was just surprised, all of a sudden, bingo, there it was, yep.
Any other questions for Brittany? Questions for the applicant, or would they like to come forward and speak at us? Okay, very good. I see that I had a couple, and it was the wastewater folks didn't have any concern on this, and I assume that you're dealing with the ones that are on site now as what any that would have to be included in an expansion proposal through the building permit process.
Correct, and it would have to go through the state as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right, commercial, sure. And then the second one would be, they're aware that they're not going to be allowed any additional access to the property, it looks like, from the state, I guess.
Correct. There is an access there. It may need to have improvement, but at this time, they're not going to allow any other access into that lot.
Right, and they file those improvements to meet the state requirements on it, I assume, and the state then signs off on them.
Correct. The state would require the approach permit or any improvements to the approach.
Okay, very good. I don't have any more questions for Brittany. Anyone else on the commission have a question for Brittany? Question for the applicant? Okay, Chair to address the motion.
I move we approve planned unit development PU 04-18. And
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve per staff's recommendation, PU 04-18 with 24 conditions. Discussion from the audience. From the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 14.
Item number 14 is Plan Unit Development Amendment COPU 0418 to amend an existing plan unit development to allow an in-home occupation on the subject property. The applicant is Lindeen Smith. Staff is recommending that this request be withdrawn per the applicant's request.
All right. Any questions for Brittany on this item? If that's the case, then anyone from the audience here to speak on this item? All right, Chair would address the motion.
I move that we approve, or that we withdraw planned unit development COPU 04-18 per the applicant's request.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve per staff's recommendation, COPU 04-18, to be withdrawn. Discussion from the audience, from the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 15.
Item number 15 is preliminary plan COPPL 25-0012, is to reconfigure lot lines to create Lot G revised of Stevens Reams Tract. The applicant is Ken Davis. The surveyor engineer is Davis Engineering, Ron Davis. If you could see the property, there is a small bump out here on Log Porch Road for right-of-way. During some investigation on this lot, they found out that the existing well is within a portion of that right-of-way. So they're looking to vacate that portion of right-of-way and reconfigure the lot line so the existing well will actually be on Lot G. So with that, staff is recommending approval. There will be an additional or a separate request that will be in front of this planning commission for that vacation of plat for that right-of-way. Log Porch Road is in a road district as well as French Drive. So both road districts don't have an issue with this. Log Porch Road District does not have an issue with the vacation of that right-of-way for the purposes of bringing the well back onto the lot.
All right. Questions for Brittany?
The bump out on the opposite side of the road, why is that even needed at this point?
It would have to be a separate plat on a different lot with a different applicant, and so they would have to vacate that portion. They're only vacating the portion that's applicable to this lot.
Okay, yep.
Okay, Mr. Davis wanted me to point out that he is a past commissioner and that he does know a number of us. That's the only thing he contacted me on and asked me to add in if he wasn't here, so I have done that. And he does know a number of us, I'm sure. But we'll go by what's in the book. Any other questions for Brittany? Anyone from the audience care to discuss item number 15? Hearing no discussion, the chair would be receptive to a motion on item number 15.
Make a motion that we approve COPPL 25-0012 with 7 conditions.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the commission approve COPPL 25-0012 with 7 conditions. Discussion from the audience. No one's left. From the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. On to item number 16, which is ordinance amendment.
Item number 16 is ordinance amendment OA 25-17 for Pennington County to amend section 103 definitions of the Pennington County zoning ordinance. This is just to add several definitions that weren't already included in our section 103 and to update the definition of a kennel. I know from previous commission meetings that definition of cabin has not been defined. Bunkhouse, studio, those are used pretty frequently in some of our building permit process, and right now we don't have a definition for them. So we wanted to differentiate them and define them so it's clear through some of our processes. One of the other ones too is the cemetery, public and private. That is in a different section of our ordinance that will come forward. But we wanted to differentiate the difference because one would require a conditional use permit and one would require an SPU. Just because of sometimes the sensitivity and the timing of these, we're looking at changing those to different requirements, I guess, so you don't have to have a CUP for a private.
Okay.
So does anybody have any questions on any of the definitions?
I have one. Bunkhouse, no sanitation facilities. What happens if it has a restroom? Is it still a bunkhouse or it's a different animal?
It would be considered a studio.
Okay, really, okay.
But we do have several bunkhouses in the county, and they don't have sanitation facilities. They either use the main house one, or they have a shower house or something. But they're very different as far as what they're allowed to do. So
Additional questions for Brittany? Do the cemetery requirements, do they extend out in perpetuity somewhat once it's written in? In other words, I'm thinking more of the personal, what do you call it?
Private.
One.
So currently, right now, you have to get a conditional use permit for any cemetery, private or public. We're looking at changing, it's in a different section of our ordinance. It's in the 300 section that will be coming forward. But right now, you have to get a conditional use permit for a private cemetery. And a lot of times, one, we've never had any issues with one being approved by this commission. Two, there's a lot of state requirements that are very restrictive. So as for them to get their allowed by the state, they have to come through our office, and sometimes it's very onerous, and it's typically in a very timely, difficult. So we wanted to be able to do an SPU for the private cemeteries instead of, because usually they're very small, they're on larger lots. So we don't really, because of the state requirements are so restrictive, by the time they come here, the requirements are, just placement and setbacks.
That's what you kind of beat me to. I was thinking the state requirements are quite restrictive in what you can do within certain perimeter of that particular plot or property, everything from digging to the future and removal. And it even, I think, goes on to name what you have to do if it would ever be changed, if I remember right.
Correct, and they do have to file a location plat with the Register of Deeds, and then it goes in the State Historical Society documents, so it's all documented and tracked.
Okay.
Would this apply to pet cemeteries too?
Pardon?
Would this apply to pet cemeteries too?
That's not how we define it, no. But no, we've never actually had anyone ask for that, to be honest. But we don't have that in our ordinance as a permitted use, so it would be a conditional use irregardless.
Then I won't. That's true, and I'm sure that there's several that are operating within the county. Just from the different veterinary procedures, I don't think they all use a disposal service for the creatures that are done in, It's interesting. We don't have that. All right. I didn't hear that, John. That's a good question. That really is, because I'm sure we've all, in fact, we have family members that select to take our dear departed pets to people that have little cemeteries versus those that don't, that use the disposal style system.
Back in Ohio, where I'm from, you have pet cemeteries. I
Yes.
mean, real ones.
Yeah.
And
We
on the
have one
weekends,
shared
you'll
like
have
road.
the folks, coming out just like they would a regular cemetery.
Yeah.
And placing a can of food or whatever. I mean, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one on Sheridan Lake Road.
Yeah.
Oh, is
There's
there?
several.
Yeah, there is.
Oh,
But I think they're individually, how would I say, designated?
Private.
Would that be a fair word?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions for Brittany in regards to any of these, what would you call it, definitions, I guess? All right. Chair to address a motion to move this forward.
I move we approve the recommendation to the ordinance amendment OA 25-17 to add revise the definitions per staff recommendation.
Second.
And seconded to approve per staff's recommendations, OA 25-17. Discussion. And again, no one here from the audience, from the commission? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion is carried. On to item ordinance amendments, animal keeping regulations.
So item 17 is ordinance amendment OA 25-18 for Pennington County to amend section 322 special animal keeping regulations of the Pennington County zoning ordinance. It's just to update several of the requirements in this and to basically beef up some of the definitions that we had previously had. I guess I will entertain any questions. There was a couple of things that were in the last ordinance, that some of the setbacks were 50 feet in lieu of 25 feet. So we made those consistent with what our setback requirements are. And then we added some,
Chair, I have a question. I don't know about chickens. Okay, so you have a rooster and you have chickens. Do you have, what do they do with the other male chickens? I mean, like if the chicken has male, do they just eat it? Eat all the males or something? They
well, you
only
can't
one?
have a rooster in any of the districts outside of agriculture, so. If someone has a rooster in residential district, we usually know. They call Dwayne.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't answer my question.
Yeah.
What do they do with all the male?
Whatever we raise chickens.
Yeah.
If we, say for example, it's called sexing. You sexing the chickens, you only want females.
Right.
So you get them in, they're females, and one of them all of a sudden goes, "Rock-a-da-da-da." It's like, whoop. So what you end up doing is either you give it to a
Can you do
neighbor
that
who
again?
raises chickens,
Yeah.
or you eat it.
So you only have one rooster?
Well, maybe you've got 5 of them that show up, so you get rid of 5 of them. The main thing, and I was on the original chicken committee on this one, it's the only reason I've gotten in on this stuff.
Right.
The only reason you don't have roosters is because of the crowing.
Right.
Now, we've got a rooster right now that doesn't crow. I mean, it happens. So we just keep it, that's all.
Until it starts growing.
All the chickens are
The chickens are
females.
fine.
They're
You-
female.
You usually
never have a male chicken and it's always called a rooster.
The idea of a rooster is like, for example, if they're out in the chicken yard and the sun starts to go down, the rooster calls them all in. Now, they can figure it out on their own if there isn't a rooster, but if there is a rooster, he marshals them in, and that's why people.
But he don't breed with them.
He what?
He don't breed with them?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what I said.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, they would, so you won't keep them. You will get rid of the rooster, that's all. You'll just have nothing but hens, females.
So chickens lay eggs no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
And they reproduce,
The
you
only
have to
thing
have a
is,
rooster.
if you get a organically grown egg and it have a little blood spot, a little red spot, that means it's been fertilized by the rooster. And a lot of the organic people, that's Fat City, that's what they want. But generally speaking, because of the noise, you don't have roosters.
I was wondering why you define rooster.
Yeah.
And it's because it makes noise.
But I do have, and I talked to Brittany on this, being on the original committee, if you look at the original one, it says you're allowed to have, in 3 acres, you're allowed to have 60 chickens. If you use the new 6,000 square foot and divide it and all that, and do that times 3 for 3 acres, you'd have 110 chickens. 110 chickens is too many for 3 acres in the middle of a housing development. It just is. I just mentioned that, somebody might look at that in the future. That's an awful lot of chickens using this formula.
Now that I know that, people are gonna raise chickens that 3 acres.
Yeah, but the eggs are great.
I have a lot of friends that have chickens.
Yeah, that's all I've
Should've
got.
asked them,
Yeah.
but I didn't really think about it. I just eat the eggs.
Yep.
Thank you to Mr. Lewis for such graphic
Chicken content.
explanations
Hey,
on
listen, George
chickens.
Farabee put me on that.
Oh, I know.
Yes, yes, so.
I hope you guys didn't get mileage on that committee. But anyway, it is something to consider. I actually got some phone calls from city people about this ordinance over the weekend. I don't know whether any of you received any from city people, because they were wondering what our intent was, where we were headed with this, and I'm sure it's because they're having many discussions about this right now, and there are a number of people that are in grandfathered situations that people don't like and stuff like that within the city of Rapid City. So I was surprised. It just happened to coincide. I couldn't see what somebody from Rapid City wanted to call us about item number 17, and I hadn't seen it yet, so I took notes, and I promised them I'd call them back, and I'll throw in Mike's graphic discussion of roosters. So, go ahead.
One other thing to note on this is the applicability before. This applied to suburban residential 1 and 2 if you had the acreage requirement. Now, in those suburban residential districts, you can only have chickens, no other animals
Yeah.
besides domestic cats and dogs, obviously, but before you were allowed to have horses or anything else, and now the suburban residential 1 and 2 are limited to chickens only.
And I also noted that you caught the 6,000 square feet too, versus the 65 that used to be too.
Right, the 6,000 square feet is the urban residential.
Right. I noted that you had done that, and you got that up to speed, so. It's probably a necessary thing, although you begin to think in the county, you wonder what we're doing talking about limitations on animals. People forget that we do have zoning in Pennington County, and so we've got to have an applicable ordinance in regard to animals. I mean, it's that simple. All righty. Any other questions for Brittany on this particular item, item number 17? Chair would address a motion to move this forward.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve ordinance amendment OA 25-18. I guess that's it.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve OA 25-18, special animal keeping regulations per staff's recommendations in the new ordinance wording, I guess, would be the appropriate way to put it. Any discussion from the audience? Again, from the commission? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 18, Pennington County nuisance ordinance.
Item number 18 is ordinance amendment OA 25-19 for Pennington County. It's to amend ordinance 106, the Pennington County nuisance ordinance. There's a couple changes in here. You can see in the red. We added a definition for sidewalk. We removed the declaration of the noxious weeds because that is under our natural resources director. So that's under his purview, not under the nuisance ordinance. They have their own weed and pest board. So in discussions with him, we made that decision. He said to remove it out of there because that's under their purview and their weed and pest board. The other thing under item H, the accumulation, it used to be 5 inoperable vehicles. We changed it down to 3 because if you look in our definitions of automobile wrecking yard, it's 4 or more inoperable vehicles. So if you have 4, you automatically would require a CUP for a wrecking yard. So we wanted that to be consistent with other areas of our ordinance. Under N for the unspread accumulation of manure, we actually put depth of it because when our ordinance officer goes out, like what is, how do you determine that? And then the other big thing was the notice requirements. There was discussion at the last Board of Commissioners meeting about these notices of violation and some actual accountability to get some of these nuisances cleared. So in that item C, we're looking at actually doing a 14-day notice. If they don't comply within that 14 days, they will get a notice that they will have a hearing in front of the Board of Commissioners for potentially abatement of the property. So right now, they can either go to the state's attorney's office or they can go in front of the Board of Commissioners. So this will be about a 45-day process. And it'll give the landowners an opportunity to work with the Board of Commissioners too, as well, to remedy the nuisances. So
Okay.
those are the major changes. So.
Questions for Brittany on this one?
I have one.
Go ahead.
Number 4.7, sidewalk. Typically runs alongside of a street. There's a fair number of sidewalks that go through the middle of lots, like bike paths type things. Say, for example, you've got a suburban residential and you've got 2 houses and you have a dead lot in the middle. A lot of times they'll have a sidewalk going through connecting streets. The only reason I say that, it doesn't run along beside the street. That's all.
Yeah.
You thinking like paths too with these developments?
It's just sidewalks. They don't always run along the side
No,
of
some of
roads.
the developments do put walks inside of the commons areas, they designate commons areas and put walks through them.
No, in different
Yeah,
places.
correct.
Does it have anything about right-of-way in here?
Well, the reason that the sidewalk is in there is because it has to do with snow removal in our highways right-of-way and that accessibility. So the reason that we have that defined in there, because we didn't have it defined, if you look at a declared nuisance, I believe it's T. It's the condition of any sidewalk that fronts or abuts a property unfit or unsafe for the purposes of travel. So that has to do with snow removal and maintenance of sidewalks in subdivisions.
Chair, I have a question. Tyler, you already know what's coming up. 929-1 is a state law that gives jurisdiction in the unincorporated areas to the city. They have the whole mile. They put it in their ordinance with the city, that they have that jurisdiction. So that, since they annexed in, a lot of Rapid Valley and a lot of the areas are their jurisdiction instead of ours. Do we still have jurisdiction is the question, and how does that work for legalities and things like that? Because I could see that they put it in their ordinance, but they put a state law in their ordinance saying they have jurisdiction over it. So I didn't know if city and county are the same jurisdiction, meaning the same, one's not higher than the other, they're the same by state law, and some other questions. I think you know where I'm going,
Yeah,
Tyler.
Tyler Sobzak, State's Attorney's Office. So to answer your question, Commissioner Hadcock, I looked into this since our last Board of Commissioners meeting. I guess that was just Tuesday. And I've determined that the city doesn't necessarily have an exclusive jurisdiction over the 1 mile. I'm going to call it the nuisance jurisdiction just for the sake of this conversation. But what it practically does is it puts my office in a quandary with their jurisdiction. You may all have heard of something called double jeopardy. You know, you can't try someone for the same crime twice. It's the general idea behind it. So when we have two prosecuting entities that have jurisdiction over the same area, there's the opportunity that we both could be prosecuting the same person for the same thing. So we both have jurisdiction, but there's internal issues associated with them doing that. I know that there's been some discussion about us maybe entering into a memorandum of understanding with the city where we take over that 1 mile and they can retain their jurisdiction over. I think it's septic is really what the big thing that they want to retain control over is. So there are some discussions happening as far as what that's going to look like. But as we're sitting right now, it's kind of a awkward place for both of us to be in, frankly. Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
So why I have an issue with it is if you have the 1 mile jurisdiction in the county, and then you just, okay, but I'd like the septic one, but I don't want the nuisance one, because we already know what that causes.
Yeah.
So
It's certainly
take
an
it out
awkward
of,
relationship, yeah.
so we don't have it in our state law. We don't have it in our ordinance. I mean, 929-1. Take it out of your ordinance if you're not going to enforce it, or that's the bottom line. Because if you're going to give us jurisdiction in the 1 mile and it's going to be nuisances, so you're not confusing the public, you're not confusing our state's attorney, you're not confusing anybody. It's not just an ordinance, guys. It's a state law that they copied onto their ordinance for city nuisances. So for me, that's problematic for the county. People say, well, if you've ever had to deal with a nuisance or a abatement, and I'll keep saying it, you have to have the wherewithal to be able to charge people what it usually costs, which we've had 24,000 ones. And you have to be able to do those violations and have them come see you and say, okay, Planning Commission, we need 100,000 in there this year, or we need 200,000 in there this year. We have 5 abatements. In the past, just with the city and the county, what I found is number one, usually politicians don't want to put their name on anything because they're going to be in the paper if it's your grandma and she doesn't have any money and that kind of thing. You want to do the right thing, but a lot of people, when it comes up to a dais, they don't have the wherewithal. Number two, a lot of them, the cash flow, because what happens is they put a lien on you, on your property once they prosecute you. So I found a lot of veterans, a lot of elderly, a lot of people with kids. They came up, and that's why a lot of times, I'm sure with our ordinance, that the state's attorney was saying, give them a chance. So they didn't really want to prosecute people, and I understood that because, you want to give people the chance. And making somebody homeless or taking their house or leaning their house is not the number one thing. So bottom line is 929-1, if city doesn't want to do the job, because we sent them a letter, I'm just saying, we sent them a letter and they said, we're not going to do anything in that area, if I'm correct, Brittany. You guys can go and take it over. Well, that tells me take it out of your law or your ordinance. And number two, be careful what you ask for. I mean, we're giving them 45 days and stuff, and do I think people need to clean their properties up? If you ever had to live by people that are hoarding or doing stuff, it's pretty crazy. And then hopefully in that time, which I said, we can look at like the Ignite program and some other stuff to maybe help people. But we'll see. Like I said, do you have the wherewithal to move forward on something to make it a little bit stricter? And then state's attorney at that time can follow through by commission's authority instead of planning commission or planning department, because that's why a lot of stuff, when they say, oh, things weren't taken care of, it took too long, or people were just trying to be nice to people. So in the other sense, there's some pretty bad areas that are causing some leaching and different stuff like that. So that's why I was working with Brittany and Jason and Dwayne to try to figure this out, and then we found 929-1, didn't even know we had it in their ordinance. So hopefully we can work that out, because I think that's going to be, for me, it's going to be the most problematic, because somebody's going to know somebody in that 1 mile jurisdiction that's a politician at one time, and then it's going to be their jurisdiction, and then next week it'll be ours again when it's not. And I've seen that problematic in the past, where I use the law when I need to. And I just don't want that to happen to us. I don't want to start a big fight between the two and then nothing gets done, because again, if that was just a little 50 houses in the mile, if you go all the way out to Red Rocks, you go all the way to North Merritt Road, you pretty much cover Rapid Valley, and I'll keep saying, be careful what you wish for when you annex people in. So for me, if I was king or queen, at this case, not the rooster, I would say, you have it in your law, we'll go ahead and let you take it over. Instead of the county being part of that, because I think it's become problematic in that sense if we start doing this ordinance and it's the 14-day and stuff. And I agree with the ordinance. I agree with the 14-day. I agree with the 30-day. I just, yeah, there's going to be a bunch coming forward. Does it come to these guys or just the Board of the Commissioners?
Just the Board of Commissioners, from my understanding, yeah. Which I think that's probably best for everybody.
No, it is best.
Yeah.
These guys shouldn't have to take personal responsibility for people's districts when there's some issues. But I also, if I use 929-1 and it's in my district, that's going to be a good law, so I don't have to do anything and just say, hey, that's the city's.
Good point.
And that's the sad part of what might happen. So, I'm not going to do that, but you know what I'm saying. That's an example of law not being very well written for both sides in order to cause issues. Won't be our first one in the 3 mile or the mile.
Yeah.
The mile for septic has worked well for us, I'll just tell you, and Brittany was a part of that. But this one I see going to be pretty problematic for the future for that area, for the mile area.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I anticipate being fixed in pretty short order, but there's some conversations that need to be had and some drafting that needs to be done, and what does this process look like, so.
Bottom line, you can't, whatever of understanding is good, but that's a state law. So do you get to do a, whatever, what'd you call it, of understanding?
Memorandum of Understanding, MOU for short.
Yeah, MOU. Then, based on state law, does a MOU work for a state law that's put in something to say, okay, we agreed with this, but this is our state law, so we have to follow it.
I think it should work just fine. Like I said off the top, or at least I thought I said, that they do not have the exclusive jurisdiction. We have I'm going to call it a co-current jurisdiction where we both kind of share that property. So if we can get something in writing that says, you know, county, it's all yours up until we tell you we want it back, that should probably take care of it for now. So we'll see what it looks like in the future. You know, I'll keep you in touch. I'll keep the rest of the board in touch, but Brittany and I should probably call Megan from the city to see what that looks like, and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, because I'm sure they wanted to take it over, but I would say if they don't want to do it, take it out of your nuisance ordinance. You don't have to do a MOU, because I see it being problematic. Especially, it's not like a resolution that doesn't really mean anything. It's a state law, and just saying we're having a memorandum of understanding. We've seen that before, and it becomes a big argument. And bottom line is, I'd use their law against them if I was going to say that it's their area, not mine.
Yeah, I don't really anticipate any issues from us taking more responsibility from the city, so I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I don't see them following through on this 1 mile, because I see that only when it becomes an issue with politics. And that could be pretty problematic in the areas that you are putting that 1 mile jurisdiction, or they are, so. Just saying.
Yeah, understood.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
How does this figure in with the 3 mile?
Oh, completely separate. No real relationship there. The 3 miles a great kind of apples to oranges comparison, though. I mean, just in the same way the 3 mile works for, you know, platting and all of that process, that's kind of how this works here. So we're just trying to clean up the process. We're trying to clean up the process, essentially, where, you know, we just don't have two prosecuting entities going after the same people, because it's a waste of community resources. It's a waste of two governmental entities' times. Just a little bit of cleanup. I don't anticipate it being tough, but it's something that's, you know, we're being cognizant of, and just trying to really think about how that best looks in the future, whether it be removing it from the city ordinance or some sort of separate external document that I draft in the city.
So, Chair, and then Tyler, the 3 mile's been a contentious issue. Asked Brittany for years on different areas with the city. So it doesn't work out very well with the 3 mile. In fact, we tried to look at it and get rid of it at one time. The other thing is the fireworks in that 1 mile. So that's been pretty contentious with who has that jurisdiction, but it's called extra, if you want to look it up, it's called the extraterritorial jurisdiction by state law, 929-1. It also says policing power. So that's why I said, to me, that becomes problematic in that 1 mile. Not like the 3 mile hasn't had that already, but in some areas for our platting or jurisdiction in areas. But this, I think, is going to start doing the same thing now that we know the law, and that it wasn't just an ordinance, it's a state law in that area. So
is there any gray area in the 3 mile thing at this point, like the 1 mile?
About 3 miles of it.
the gray area is, and Charlie's right, is
Or he
that
says about a 2.
is that 3 mile, and that's what we're trying to say, Charlie, is that
I
just
know.
depends on what the issues are and how they do their thing that day and their ordinance or their
I understand that, but
process.
we're getting a little off the topic when we're getting into that, because that can even go into roads. Just think of Sheraton Lake Road in regards to 3 mile limit, and who had the authority to put all the houses out there and not do any road development, that sort of thing. And that's come up, and I know the county has certainly put their foot down and stuck on their side of that argument, and the city certainly has done the same. They've put their foot forward and talk about that, and those sort of things are going to continue in the future. But I think we got to be more specific on our questions on this one, because it does move forward to you next, and it probably is going to get a little bogged down if people bring up what you're talking about. These past agreements have not necessarily been smooth to work with. Is
Well,
that a nice way to put
been
it?
in here 18 years, right, at city and county, And I'm going to tell you, at 929-1, that's going to cause some, now that both sides know, that's going to cause some issues with jurisdiction. Because now that we know that, the fireworks and all that might be just theirs, might be easier for us to be able to comply. Because even with Rapid Valley, I love fireworks too, but it's become a war zone out there. So maybe now we can have some real discussions on that area for the purpose of health, safety, and welfare for both sides.
Might become more definitive in the other areas as well if we could solve some of those that are a lot more volatile. But anyway, I did have a couple of questions, but is there more questions? I always try to save mine to the last. Minor, very minor.
If I could interject just with a
Right
thought
ahead.
on the days, I think it might engender or propose some more questions from you guys. So right now, the ordinance says it gives 14 days essentially as a
Correct.
demand letter for compliance. I've never in my career written a demand letter that's less than 28 days.
Yeah.
That seems like an awfully quick time to me. So that's just the one thing that I would leave you all with to kind of consider, and I can stand for any questions on that.
Chair, can I have a comment on that? I worked with Brittany and Jason. What it is, not really a demand, what it is an option letter.
Right.
In 14 days, most people can clean up something, or they can come to Brittany and say, hey, it's going to take me longer than 14 days. Can you give me to this before you take it to the Board of the Commissioners? Number one, you need to get a notice. We did this in the city. You need to get a notice. They give 7 days, I think, and then they have to go to the director, what's her name, Vicky Fisher, the planning director, and then they go to the Board of Commissioners. In this case, in 14 days, if you don't comply, it's just saying you can either forget us and not do anything, or you can come talk to us. Is what it makes a good conversation, and then in that time, then they make a hearing, and then it's 30 days. So it just gives them the opportunity, instead of just saying, hey, here's the hearing, come and talk to us.
There's some nuance I wasn't privy to, so I appreciate your comments on that.
and
Yeah,
I
I mean, if
apologize,
it's a
Tyler.
come talk to us within 14 days, I can get that.
Yes,
So,
sir. So
yeah.
basically, that's why we decided, all four of us, that, and then knowing what the city did, that it gives you 14 days, because the county, you can have more stuff, because you got 15 acres or 100 acres or whatever. So it gives you 14 days to either answer it or do nothing. If you do nothing, of course, then you're going to get the 30-day, and if you answer it, you're going to talk to the planning commissioners or planning department, and they're going to come in and either schedule a hearing so they can say, hey, you don't have to pay that $24,000, whatever. If you don't want to clean it up, we'll just have, you go to the Board of Commissioners and they can decide for us. So it gives you a choice to either comply or not comply, and then at that 30 days, then that's up to you. And if you do nothing,
Understood.
it's up to you.
Gotcha.
In fact, I was going to comment on the same thing. I've been familiar with a number in an HOA I'm thinking of right off my head, top of my head, is that many of the HOAs use the 14 days as the unofficial notice before official notice when people are in violation of something to come forward. It gives you a time to sit down. It's a cooling off period from the one that's mad and the other. So they use this before they do the official backup. I don't know how you guys would word it in your particular case, but that is, I was pretty familiar with the 14 days. It's kind of a first step before people start picking up a hammer to hit you in the head, so to speak.
The grace period.
Yeah, that's it. That's a good word. That was used a long time ago about that sort of letter. You have a grace time. It used to be 10 days. A lot of people use 10 days as a grace period in their notifications to people before they did an official act. My question was simple. Do you think people will try to get wiggle room on your accumulation of more than 3 operable vehicles that people, I remember the days of licensed vehicles versus inoperable? That's what I'm thinking of. They quickly, and having a demolished car that they couldn't agree with what the amount was from the insurance company that's sitting on their place, I can just see them saying, well, it has a license plate on it. Well, I've seen people build up 2 and 3 of them. So is that going to present you a problem, Brittany?
It still is a problem whether it's 5 or 3.
It is?
to be honest.
Whether it's licensed or not licensed, huh?
Yeah, some of them, they'll get they'll license them as a
Yeah.
historical vehicle, yeah, things like that. So when they do that,
Boy, and that's getting abused too. We're seeing an awful lot of people driving historical vehicles regular during the day, pickups to work. I mean, you can look around. I don't think the state's taking a hard look at that yet. Maybe they are or not, but they are, especially with the price of license plates going up. I'm seeing more and more of the black historical plates on vehicles that are getting driven every day, because they are historical, but they're not reading the rules. They're just going ahead and doing it. Okay, that was my question. And the last one was, it appears to me, if I remember right, just recently the state, in the last year, 2, 3, they've kind of done a lot of different little changes about nuisance. Are you guys staying on top of that in regards to our nuisance ordinances?
Yeah, this year we didn't have it because budget season took so long, but normally we have what we call a planning workshop where I used to be Alexa, I suppose now it's me or my new counterpart, Eric, who will be starting with us in a few weeks. But what we do is we give a roundup of essentially what we'll call them more major legislative changes are for the year. We try to do that in July every year. This year's budget season was a little bit more hands-on than previous years, so that session for 2025 got canceled. So I wasn't able to really, I guess, teach it to the Board of Commissioners, but we're on top of it. I guess I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I just noticed it seems to be more of a topic than it used to be. This nuisance, and I think there's a lot of people that have used nuisance in their own writings of things now wanted some direction from the state, what's a nuisance, because they didn't define it anymore, and ours used to be very liberally defined years ago. When the original 106 they called it came up years ago. I mean, it was all on one piece of paper the first time they did it. And I'm sure it wouldn't get on one piece of paper now.
Yeah, there are some legislative changes that I think muddy the water. I wouldn't put the nuisance changes in that category. They've been very clarifying to me and helpful.
That was where my question was going, because there have been things that have kind of changed some things. And I was hoping nuisance, I didn't follow it too well. And again, I'm on homeowners and things like that, and the word nuisance appears in a lot of homeowners things. So that immediately goes back to what's the state requirement on a nuisance. Okay, thank you. I just felt like we've got to at least stay up to speed on our own ordinances as far as the nuisance.
Now's a good time for me to give kudos to my coworker, Alexa Beauchamp, who spends her January and February really staying on top of stuff like this, so our office can keep apprised of major changes, whether it be criminal or civil stuff. So
okay,
big thumbs up to her.
Thank you. Any other questions then for
I have a question about the 3-mile limit. People that live within that 3-mile limit, are they eligible to serve on city commissions that might affect
Well,
them?
no.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I would caution you to kind of stay on topic with what we have agendized for, but
I don't think it's fair to ask him to pin down on that one. He'd just well do it in writing and
yeah, but the answer to that one's no.
then keep his hands in his pockets the rest of the week, wondering whether he's leaving. It's tough for these guys with the legal stuff sometimes. You got to give them some time. But from my knowledge, I'll answer that, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get the message.
Anything else on the wording of the ordinance that you see that would keep you from pushing it forward or want it to continue? We did have noted to the department that on the larger ordinances, if it's significant as far as the changes, and these are pretty good, but they're not overwhelming, that we can certainly look at it. And Brittany was in it. If we wanted to sit on it for a meeting, that's the way it goes. But I'm comfortable with what I read. I don't know whether you are.
Chairman, I just have one clerical.
Yep.
On section 7A, number 2, it says 5U and V. It should be S and T just because of the strike through on the noxious weeds. So I just want that on the record. So we can make that clerical change. It should be 5S and 5T.
5S and 5T.
Correct.
Okay. We'll make sure that's in our motion. Any other thing clerical? I've been trying to ask it so we stay up to speed on these things about the clerical, but there isn't a whole lot of, there's significant changes, but I don't know that it's a large quantity. Chair would address a motion.
I'll move that we accept the ordinance amendment OA 25-19 with the correction noted by Brittany on section 7, A2, to make it 5S and T per staff recommendation.
Second.
There's second. Moved and seconded to approve OA 25-19 with the clerical changes to section 7A2, the end of the sentence, 5S and 5T. Discussion from the audience. Audience is clear. From the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion's carried. Item number 19, we don't need today, so we're on to 20.
Item number 20 is the county board report. The Board of Commissioners concurred with the Planning Commission's recommendations from their November 10th Planning Commission meeting.
Questions for Brittany on item number 20? Again, we don't have any public. Items from the staff.
Nothing.
Membership, any questions or concerns? If you have any little things that you run into in the building that you need to know, I noticed that the toilet roll dispenser in the one bathroom, you can't sit on the toilet, so pretty serious. So they got right on it. But I'm kidding, but you should let them know because there are things that aren't going to be functional or that not meant to do what they're meant to do. But does everybody understand where the restrooms are at off of this for the future? We darn near going to have to call a recess to get to them. They're a ways off. Anyway, that's all I had.
I'd just like to thank everybody for serving and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair to address a motion to adjourn for the day.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned.
Toast.
Here, the donuts didn't make